The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, the sovereign of Sangiovese. That's right. Paul is our wine expert. Thank you for joining us, Paul. We're talking about all the interesting stuff coming into auction this week from outside of the United States and outside of France. So
let me make a disclaimer, as I usually do.
Rest of world auction. Yes.
If you don't mind. First of all, you're welcome for joining. And second of all, Sangiovese has an E on the end of it. Just want to let you know that. And third of all, just
it's a silent E.
Well, to you, I suppose. When we review wines for Finally Hammered, we try to get to as much as we can, but often, and like many weeks this week, I think there were 70 pages of new wines in the site. And so we don't always get a chance to review everything, but we do put our picks together. And the picks are also published on the WineBid blog. So everything that we actually want to discuss, even though we don't get a chance to discuss, is available for sale, obviously, this week, the current week, and is also available on the site. But today, I think we'll see how far we can get because there's quite a bit of stuff available. So anyway, go ahead, Jeff.
Yes.
Continue.
There is a tremendous amount of stuff available, and we're going to try and get through as much as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and start off with Italy, since you are the sovereign of Sangiovese.
Well, so now that you say that, are you going to be going back between grape varieties and regions in Italy like you do, like all over the place?
No, that's not me. That's not my style.
It is your style. You bounce back between Piedmont and Tuscany, then you're...
I'm doing, not only am I going to do just like one region at a time, but I'm going to list the wines as you would be able to acquire them directly from the vineyard via driving. So you spent a lot of time.
Yeah,
I mapped it out so that, if you wanted to go pick these wines up from their producers, this would take you the least amount of time, the order I'm listing them in, and you'd make like the least left turns. So it's essentially like UPS organizes, their logistics, right? They don't make left turns, is what I heard.
Fascinating. Well, what do we start with?
So we're going to start with Piemonte. Okay. And
we're going to get ready to keep the bounce back and forth here. But
no, we're going to start with Piemonte. So here are the things that I have on my list that I'm keeping an eye on right now. I thought it really interesting. This 2011 Gaia Langhe Sori San Lorenzo. We've got one of those at $390. I thought that was really interesting. We've got a couple things from Gaia, and we've got this 09 Giacomo Conterno Barolo Passina Francia, which already has a bid on it, taken from $225 to $235. We also have the 08 Barolo Reserva Monfortino for $860 and the 13 Monfortino for $820, which actually also has a bid on it. That's what's taking it up to $820. And then the 15 at $855 after a bid as well. So, a lot of interest in the Giacomo Conterno wines. We got a bunch of those coming in there. I wouldn't necessarily characterize them as cheap wines, but they're definitely rare and sought after. I suppose, cheap and low price is relative. I thought the 16 Vietti Barolo Rivera for $250 wasn't terrible. And then we've got the 16 Bartolo Mascarello Barolo. We have 8 of those actually for $420 a bottle. 17 Luciano Sandrone Barolo Levine, which has one bid on it, taking from $90 to $91. And then we also have one that has no bids at 90. So if you want to pick that up for 90, you can grab that. 2017 Elvio Cogno Barolo Rivera, which has one bid. We've got 2 of them. One of them has a bid. Those are $70 a piece. 2010 Elio Grasso Barolo Ginestra Vina Casamate, 5 of those for $135. 2010 Giuseppe Cortese Barbaresco, Rabaja, 4 of those for $85. 2016 Giovanni Canonisa Barolo. I'm just massacring this one. I have it.
I'm gonna have to look that one up because I don't know what you're talking about. Regardless,
We have two for 190. Long story short, we have like a lot of actually really good Barolo coming into auction this week. Just a tremendous amount of really cool, interesting Barolo. What did I miss, Paul?
Yeah, you covered a lot of the stars. Like these Canonica wines are very expensive and quite rare, actually. We don't see them that often. And so interesting to see a few of those. Yeah, the 18 Grinzane Cavour and the Piagallo, excuse me. Anyway, yeah, no, I mean, lots of cool stuff for sure. Giacomo Quintero always gets a lot of attention. The Barbera, there's a bottle of 03 Barbera at $60. So that's kind of entry level. Getting into, it's not Nebbiolo, but get into the wine. It's 20 years old. It's kind of interesting. I noticed, pretty much a lot of the things you said. I like this Magnum of 04 Grasso Casamante. That's pretty cool. There's a couple of those. There's some Berlotto Monvigliero, which we do see fairly often, especially recent vintages. And so there's also some Chinato, which is quite cool. There's an interesting selection across the auction, actually, this week of sort of fortified and or non-standard aperitif style wines or wine beverages, if you will. The Chinatos being one of those from Margarita Ottavino, which I'm not familiar with. I know, who is it? Canalicchio or Cavallotto makes a Chinato, or somebody well-known makes a Chinato. Anyway, I'd never heard of this one before, but there's a bottle of that for $40. There's some Nervi Conterna Gattinara, so lesser known, or lesser, I say, not lesser known in Italy, but lesser known here, I would say, with collectors as far as Piedmont's concerned. But those seem to be picking up speed. They all have bids, I think, except for the 18 Valferrana, but relative deals compared to other regions in Piedmont. So anyway, famous Conterna name tied to those. There's a bottle of Tredi Berry Langhe Nebbiolo 2022. This is one of the first 2022s I've ever seen, it being 2023. And so it seems like a very fresh release. But I love this stuff. I had a bottle of the 2020 not too long ago, actually a couple of them. And the 2022 just started at $20, so it's got a bid at $21, but delicious wine. I was really impressed with the 2020. And so that kind of rounds it out. I don't know. Again, I should also say there's probably some things that were added since I reviewed. I did most of my picks actually on Monday, but occasionally, like we always say, there are wines added to the auction after Sunday night. So it's good thing to check if you're looking for something specific, or just check your favorites after, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But generally things are added towards the beginning of the week. So anyway.
Let's jump over to Tuscany. First of all, let me just say, I noticed a lot of the producers you listed kind of out of order. If you were just going to go pick each of those bottles up, it would just take a long time and it's very inefficient. So I would just encourage you maybe to spend a little bit more time.
How would it take more time to find bottles?
Well, because you're listing stuff like, you list something that's here, and then you list something that's all the way across Piedmont, and then you list something else that was back where, next door to where you're
listen to you.
It's like, it just doesn't make sense to do it like that.
The students become the master.
I'm just saying. I'm not
sure what you're just saying.
Yeah. Well,
I'm clear on that.
Just trying to, maybe if you can make it a little bit more useful. So I'll
try to keep up.
Yeah, please. Let's go over to Tuscany. I thought that was really cool. We had the 95 Tignanello. So that's for 190. I thought it was really cool to have that 95 there. One that I love, Casanova di Neri. We've got 2010. We got a bottle of that for 195. 2010, obviously a phenomenal year for Brunello. We actually have a ton of 2010 Brunellos. I mean, we have a ton of Brunello coming to auction, but a ton of 2010 Brunellos. We have the 06 Pian del Orino Brunello de Montalcino for 100, 2010 Mag of Il Pagione OWC for 190, and then we've got a Mag of the 2010 Reserva OWC for 250. I thought those were pretty cool to see some Mags of that. And actually, I didn't think the pricing was all that crazy. To get a mag of the 010 Il Pagione Reserva in an original wooden case for $250, so like $125 per $750, didn't strike me as particularly outrageous.
Yeah, well, Jonas, fantastic. It's
really good stuff.
Great wine. And yeah, no, I haven't seen mags of it actually at all. And I was going to say is that in this week, the thing that struck me is that there's a fantastic selection of 2010s at all price ranges.
At all price ranges, I would urge people to ignore the 2010 Brunellos under $100 that have bids from me.
Hey,
no, there's just like a bevy of stuff. Like even in the $35 range, 50. I mean, like sub $100 is I think there's even a bunch sub $50 if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there's like some really good stuff. Continuing 2014, Monfortine, Le Pergole Torte. We got one of those for $245. 2010, Biondi Santi Il Grepo Brunello de Montalcino for $170. Actually, in 1990, Biondi Santi Il Grepo Brunello de Montalcino Reserva for $300. I actually didn't think that was terribly crazy price either. I mean, considering it's Biondi Santi, considering you've got 33 years of age. 2012, Altesino Brunello Montalcino Montesoli for $85. There's a 2010 Pertimali Brunello de Montalcino Sassetti Livio, four of those for $140. 2011, Le Maciole Palio with three of those, each with a bid on them, taking them from 85 to 86. 2010, Fellini Brunello de Montalcino Reserva for $135. The 2010 Ciro Pacenti Brunello de Montalcino Vecchi Vini for two of those for $120 a piece. 2010 Canalicchio di Sopra Brunello de Montalcino with a bid on it, taking it from 70 to 71, and a 2010 Renieri Brunello de Montalcino Reserva with two bids, taking it from 145 to 165.
Yeah.
And this is one of those examples, by the way, where I find it hysterical that we have this lot with two bids taking it from 145 to 165. There is another lot of this wine that is still at 145.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because I actually did flag the one that was at 145. I mean, the only difference is the description has a light label condition issue. So maybe somebody wanted their label to be perfect, so they are bidding on the other bottle. But that's my only guess.
That would be, that was the only thing I could think of is someone was like, I'm willing to pay an extra $20 for a pristine label.
Could be. You never know. You never know.
But you never know.
It's disrupting the night sky at the top of the label. I can see that the bottle with the label condition. It looks like the night sky is not quite as nice as it is at the end of the
I don't even like the wine, but I love that
fog or something. Clouds coming in or something.
The wine is terrible, but the night sky is glorious.
No, that sounds great. That sounds really good. I definitely picked the 2010 Reserva because that's one I don't think we've seen very often. Got huge scores from everybody. Not that matters because it's a well-respected producer. There's also 16 non-Reserva in as well. I found some pretty interesting stuff this week. There's a couple white wines that I was interested in. There's some Moscadello from Campana, 2018.
I saw that. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time that's been in, but it's late harvest.
I saw that.
Muscadel. Yeah, from Campana, which obviously is a very well-respected Brunello producer. So that's pretty cool. $35 for a pretty interesting late harvest wine. And then let's see, the Canalicchio di Sopras. I think, you pretty much mentioned a lot of the wines I picked out as well. 99 Col d'Orsia Brunello has got a bid on it.
Yeah. Saw that one.
What else? Oh, yeah, there's some Isolet Elena Chardonnay, which caught my eye because I love the red wines that they make. Chaparro is really awesome. And there are some of the other reds in this week. I think there's probably some bottles of Chaparro in, but the Collezioni Private Chardonnay from 2014, I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's got a different label too than the normal Isolet Elena wines, and it looks really good. But anyway, that's already got a bid. It's at $41 right now.
Yeah, so. Guess who bid on it? Thanks for that, Paul.
I should hear it. I'm going to bid on it now.
I just thought it was like really cool to see a Chardonnay from Tuscany.
Yeah, there's great Chardonnay there. I mean, mostly you see it from bigger producers. You don't necessarily see it from smaller guys. But not that Isla Elena is a tiny winery, but still, it's not often found. So yeah, I just outbid you. So you're gonna have to outbid me to win it.
I'm just gonna like next week when I'm in Napa, I'm just gonna go to the warehouse and steal your bottle. I'm just kidding. That's not a thing. I cannot do that.
Jeff, you can't even get into the warehouse. You don't have a code to get in.
Yeah, I don't even have a code to get in the warehouse. That's how much they trust me here at WineBid.
The other white wine I wanted to point out, if I can search the internet. Unfortunately, my internet at home is terrible today. But is the 14 Marchese Fresco Baldi Gorgona, and it's got really, really interesting packaging. I don't know if you saw this stuff, Jeff, but it's pretty cool. And
it's the one with a paper around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I almost bid on it just because I thought the packaging was super interesting.
Yeah, no, it's really cool wine, and it does come up every so often. There's 3 bottles of it in this week, 3 bottles of the 14. It's not cheap. It's $90 a piece, but I cannot remember if it's like a blend of, typical varieties or what, but it's very, very good. It looks like, I can't really tell from the photo what's going on here. But anyway, that definitely caught my eye. And so, I mean, you pretty much touched on all the stars. There's also some Isodi di San Nicolo, which I love. It looks like a couple bids on those already, but great stuff. So yeah, some really, really awesome Italian wines across the board. Again, there's a lot of great 2010s, Silvio Nardi, Caparzo, Uccelliera. Always have a tough time pronouncing that. And those Pergola Tortes there's a real following for those wines. The 14's far and away more expensive than the 18 and 19. It's probably the strength of the vintage there. But there's also the 19 Rosso, which is quite a bit more reasonable at $70. So yeah.
Let's head on over to Basilicata. We've got a couple of wines coming in from Basilicata. There's one that I like, that I have, the 2010 Cantine del Notaio Aglianico del Culture il Sigillo, which is one that I drink on a very regular basis. I'm sure you're very familiar with this, Paul. Actually, here's what's interesting. So I do have this wine, and I bought it in 2017 for $40. So there's investing for you, right? Like, look at the return. Look at the return on that investment. Almost double, increase of 75%. Or almost 80% of my investment.
Jeff McGarr is our wine investment.
That's right. If I bought 1 million cases of this wine, I would have $35 million.
No, you know what's interesting actually about this producer is they make a rosé of Aglianico, which is really, really hard to find. But it sticks out to me because I've had it. Actually, I had it at trade tasting in Europe. I didn't even have it in the U.S. I'm not sure it even gets exported to the U.S., but it's very good. So I would look for that. But yeah, no, those Notaio wines are tasty. It's tasty stuff.
Let's go over to Campania. We've got only a few things coming to auction from Campania. One, actually, the 2013 Catine Antonio Caggiano Tarusi already has a bid on it, taking from 35 to 36. We've got some Gallardi, Terra di Lavoro.
Yeah, Terra di Lavoro was great. There was some 11 in not too long ago, and I bought it because it wasn't that expensive. But the 09 is, well, that's the Tre Bicchieri wine. So it's a little bit, I would say, more sophisticated, more serious, but super, super, super good. The 09 it's really good.
It's only $50. I mean, I would say it's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive either.
No, and consider rest of other parts of Italy, it's reasonable and it's delicious. It's really, really good. And it seems to me every time I bought like 3 or 4 of the 11s, and second day they're always a little bit more interesting. There's some complexity that gets released there, but I'm sure that 09 is phenomenal.
I'll bet that thing is just singing right now. Let us head over to Friuli Venezia Giulia.
Thanks for that long introduction to
The butcher.
really.
We only have a couple wines. I thought this was interesting though. 96 Walter Filippucci Ramandolo for $20. I don't even know what that is, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And then we've got a 14 Bastianic Vespa Rosso. I don't know if either of those sound interesting to you. We've got them. But again, as an aside, this is one of the things that I think is really cool about WineBid. I don't know what either of those wines are, but I'm guessing you probably can't go into a local wine store or anywhere nearby to find either of those. We get some of the most interesting stuff from all over the world, including places where, Paul's point earlier, we don't even see these wines imported to the United States, but sometimes we're able to get them on WineBid.
I also didn't know that we were selling motor scooters on the site.
We are. We're selling Vespas, apparently.
Red Vespas.
In Lombardy, we've got a 13 Derupi.
Oh, no, you know what I was going to say, Jeff, before you move on to another region.
Yeah.
This Walter Filippucci wine, the Ramandolo, actually is another example of some of the late harvest stuff.
Yeah,
we have from all over. I don't think it's fortified. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's pretty rare. I've not seen this stuff ever actually before. So pretty cool to see. I would imagine there's probably some other stuff that I'm missing from that producer, or excuse me, from that seller actually that that's in the auction this week. But yeah, I can't even find notes on it in Cellar Tracker, but it looks like Ramandolo from other producers is definitely a late harvest wine. So anyway, go ahead, keep going.
I think that's one that's going to be just super interesting.
Yeah. There's a bunch of producers of Ramandolo on Cellar Tracker, but I don't see
the wall. Yeah, I couldn't find. Yeah. But I actually think that's one where it's $20 a bottle. I think that's one that would be super neat to get. Like if you have someone who's like a wine geek of a friend,
sure.
I think that's something that would be cool to give to a wine geek, right? Like if someone gave that to me, I'd be like, this is awesome. It's very rare. It's off the beaten path. Even Ramandolo, like you just don't see that very often at your local wine shops. Even somebody who spends a ton of money on wine and has had the best stuff, I think would look at something like that and be like, this is really cool. Let's open it up and see what it's like. Heading back over to Lombardy, we've got some interesting sparkling wines, including some Ronco, Calino. I'm not even going to finish pronouncing that, but basically we have some really interesting Francia Corta.
But yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of good Francia Corta.
A lot of Francia Corta at auction.
Excuse me.
Like a whole a bunch of them from different producers. Two of them are rosé of Francia Corta, but I thought those were super interesting. Full disclosure, I've never actually had Francia Corta.
No, that's good. The Contati Castaldi wines, actually, that's this 109 Satin. I think it's got a bid on it at $36. That I believe is pretty rare. I know the producer itself is pretty well known, but this Satin designation I am not unaware of. There's also a bottle of the rosé, but yeah, you should grab them. They're inexpensive and they're great.
I'm going to be tracking all these and probably picking up a bottle of Francia Corta.
Well, they're good. A lot of them have bids already, so you're a little late.
I know. And then I'll sort of end it in Veneto. We've got this Giuseppe Quintarale Amarone della Valpolicella for $3.15. That's a Classico from 03. We've got some Romano del Forno Valpolicella for $95. That's from 2012. Bertani Amarone della Valpolicella. We've got a couple of bottle of 08 for $75, bottle of 11 for $75. And then there's actually kind of the 90 mag of Bertani Recchiotto della Valpolicella Amarone Classico Superiore for $2.90. I thought it was cool to see a mag of that. I'll bet that stuff is just killer and singing right now. And then we've got that 03 Allegrini Recchiotto della Valpolicella Classico. Wait, that's a dessert wine, right?
Well, I don't know. I think Recchiotto it's sweeter, but I would not consider it or call it a dessert wine. It's definitely sweeter, but it's sort of its own category, I would say. It's
somewhere between dinner and dessert.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you drink some Zinfandels and they're super sweet, but
That's true.
they're considered dry wines. Red Chioto, obviously, has to be made a specific way, and it does tend towards being sweet. But when they're quite old, they're actually, it's like really, really old vintage port. They're not terribly sweet on the palate, but very complex, really good. They're really, really good. They can even be a little bit like deceptively dry, in my experience. But I don't know. I have a sweet tooth, so.
Me too. I think dessert is the most important meal of the day. I don't know why we don't start with dessert.
As I'm like dipping into the chocolate over here as we're reviewing wines, I can't help myself. So
Same.
That's cool. And this wine is interesting too. This Giovanni Allegrini, because it's a different label than the sort of Allegrini I'm used to. Because Valpolicella wines, they all have black labels with red script, and the Recioto from '03. I don't know if it's the same as the sort of better known Allegrini label or not, just because it's totally different from the other labels. So I that's one I'm pretty interested in. I didn't know that was even in the auction, but that's pretty cool. And it's not expensive. It's $45 for a 5.
Not expensive. I'm gonna head over to Germany.
Well, let me see. No, I guess I was gonna say I had a couple more picks from Italy, but you've already mentioned it was the Franciacorta that's in this week. Really interesting stuff, because I mean, it does not come up that often. So
no, we've got a few bottles in Germany of JJ Prum coming to auction. 2010 Auslese, and then an '07 Auslese Gold Capsule, and actually 207 Auslese Gold Capsules. And the 2010 is actually a split. We've got some. This is actually one I'm not as familiar with. Weingut Hemen Löwenstein, sorry, but we've got one of their Grosses Gewachs. Actually, we got 3 of their Grosses Gewachs in from 2015 for $30 a piece. I thought that one was super interesting. I know you're a big Grosses Gewachs fan.
I mean, it's fun to try those. In the secondary market, I think, too, they seem to be all over the map as far as pricing. The big star wineries and the big names are always going to be more, but you can find quite a few in the $30 to $40 range, and they're really, really, really good.
I mean, I would just say, like, right now, I feel like we have a lot of really cool German stuff coming to auction at really good price points. There's like a bunch of Ausleses that are like sub 40 and even some sub $30. A lot of them already have multiple bids, including the 10 Keller Monsheimer.
Yeah, well, the Keller, I mean, it's good. Any Keller that's in the auction for less than $50 is going to get a bid on it.
It's going to get bid up. Also some '05 Willi Schäfer Grieche Himmelreich Riesling Auslese. Those ones that we have 2 of those are splits. One's at 27, one's at 28. But again, just like really reasonably priced stuff. Some Selbach Oster Spätlese for $20. Some additional Selbach Oster Auslese for 35 from 15. Again, just like, this is what I love about German wine. Not only is it absolutely ridiculously good and incredibly well made, but it's so reasonably priced for this stuff. Like, these are great producers that make phenomenal stuff. This isn't like their supermarket versions of the wine. These are really well produced stuff. Not that you can't get well produced stuff in supermarkets, but these aren't like high volume production wines, I guess is what I mean. '03 Dr. Lucen Spätlese for 45, J.J. Christoffel Spätlese for 25. I should actually stop mentioning these so that I can go bid on them and get them for a song, because I feel like at some point this stuff is going to start getting expensive. Marcus Molitor Ausleses for $65 from 2013. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's just a ton of amazing stuff, and most of it is sub $100. So a lot of it is sub 50.
Yeah, it's true. There's a bunch of great stuff. I noticed too, there's a couple of the Kirpen auction wines from years ago, from '93, 2-star Auslese. They've got a couple bids. So obviously people are noticing that, but they're special because I think they're from the Grosser Ring auction, as noted on, actually, no, that's a different auction. Excuse me. I said Grosser Ring, but it looks like it's the Bernkasteller Ring auction wine. So anyway, very cool to see those. And again, they're not, these are extremely rare, but not terribly expensive. And they're 30 years old. So very cool.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I'm not even seeing the auction ones.
Yeah, 1993 Kirpen Harry Burt Kirpin. There's Veltliner Cylinder Auslays of 2-star 15. There's a couple different bottles of it, and they've got.
Oh, I went right past them.
Yeah, you can see
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, that stuff's super cool. Let's head over to Spain. We've got some couple bottles of '07 Vega Sicilia Unico for $4.15 a piece. Some Pingus, Florida Pingus, 13 at 20 for 67.70. And then we've got a 1998.
Wait. Back up. Did you say 1970?
No, 2020, 2013, but they were 470. One's for 67, one's for 70.
Oh, I see. You're just running prices.
I'm giving prices sometimes.
It's like you're calling an auction or something. That's what
something like that. We are an auction house. And we've got the one I thought was cool. That was a 98 Dominio de Pingus for $5.65. I thought that was really interesting. We've got some Lopez de Heredia, to Pondonia Reserva in auction from 05, 07, 10. We got a mag of the 10. And then
I flagged the Magnum because you don't see those that often.
And it's only 105, which I thought was actually a pretty darn good deal.
It needs another 40 years before you can open it, but
for sure. But that's still not a bad deal. $105 for that Magnum, right? And then you see the Blanco, the 09 Blanco for $145.
Yeah, the whites and the rosés are always more expensive, which is very funny.
I know, right? Like you can get a mag of the 10 for $105, but an 09 Blanco 750 is $145. So it's more than twice as much for 750 milliliters. They charge a lot of money to like peel the skins off of those grapes. It's tedious work.
Is that how they make it?
Apparently. That must be it. They're just like
wine investment expert and winemaking expert. Jeff.
Yes. I know nothing about winemaking, really. I know nothing about nothing at all. And by the way, you can see how little I know about winemaking in our podcast where we interview Ed Spragia, and it becomes very obvious. I have no idea what he did. It might as well be sorcery. A bunch of Marquis de Murrieta. We've got the 09, the 10. We've got some bodegas.
Yeah, we don't have the white though, do we?
We don't have the
real
white.
hot wine a couple weeks ago.
We have the Murrieta de Rioja Reserva, and then the regular Rioja Reserva. And then we have the Gran Reserva Especial. And we've got some Bodegas Muga Rioja, which I love. This is one of my favorite Rioja producers. We've got some La Rioja Alta Vina Ardanza, and then the La Rioja Alta Gran Reserva 904, Selección Especial, the 15 for 70, and then the Ardanza Rioja Reserva. We've got the 09 for 45, a couple of those. Some 88 Cune. Imperial Rioja Gran Reserva for 96. I didn't think that was crazy either. That one already has bids on it. And 88 for $96.
Yeah, it's typical. I think that's getting bid up, so it might get pushed up over $100. But yeah, those older wines are still relatively reasonable, especially when you're talking more than 30 years old. It's pretty cool.
We've got some Pirat. We've got some Pedro Jimenez, some Alvier. Pedro Jimenez, Dianda Anada for $20. I mean, $20 for Pedro Jimenez. I mean, it's 04. And then the 2011, these are splits, by the way, we got for 90. So apparently 11 was a lot better than 1990. I don't follow my Pedro Jimenez vintages as much as I follow other vintages.
No, actually, well, it's interesting because I think 90 was almost universally worldwide a great vintage, except for in parts of Spain and definitely Portugal, because it's not a declared Portuguese vintage. So not too surprising there.
88 Marques de Riscal Rioja Crianza for $82. And that's a mag. I thought that one was super interesting. And for being an 88, the fill level on that, I thought looked pretty decent. The mag doesn't look too bad. I'm going to stop there. What did I miss?
I think you hit on all the stars. I only had a couple things for Spain. I was trying to fly through. There is a bottle of this not late harvest, Albarino from Do Ferrero, which comes up fairly often, and it's pretty sought after stuff for sure as Albarino goes anyway. Anyway, the 15 is it's got a bid, looks like it's at $46 right now, but apparently I haven't had this particular wine. I've had older vintages of it, but really, really, really good, like serious Albarino from Rias Baixas. It's hard to, I'm not sure on pronunciations there, but anyway,
spacious.
it's the green. Yeah, it's the green label. It's the Cepas Vellas. It's really, really, really good stuff. So that's one I found fascinating.
Speaking of Portugal.
Oh yeah, I guess a minute ago.
Well, technically you were. We have a bunch of interesting stuff coming in from Portugal. We've got an 1863 Barbeiro Bol Madeira.
That's technically from the island of Madeira. It's not actually from the mainland, but you know.
Who owns the island of Madeira?
Nobody owns land, Jeff. It's the world. It's the vineyards land. It's the location of the vineyard. It's not owned by anyone. It's owned by the grapes.
What country is it in? What country? Did Madeira become a country? Did they secede from Portugal?
The vineyards of Madeira are their own domain.
They're sovereign. Okay, you're one of those sovereign
citizen.
Yeah, sovereign citizen people. There we go. Paul's like, you have no authority over me. You can't give me a ticket.
Well, no, I think it's just important to differentiate Madeira from wines grown on.
Do you?
Because they're totally different.
Is that what you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, my list is broken up into wines from, Portugal itself and wines from Madeira. So I don't know if yours is, but
I think it's cool that this Madeira was made while Abraham Lincoln was still president of the United States.
There is a nice arrangement of very old Madeira.
There's a ton of them. There's an 1834 for $14.95. There's a 1900 for $700. There's an 1875 for $9.95. Another 1875 for $1,045. A 1948 for $4.95. Actually, two 1948s for $4.95, a 1910 for $5.75, a 1900 for $9.50. Just a bunch of really cool and super old Madeiras. And then from there, I'm going to move on to Austria. We only have a couple things from Austria. We've got a Domaine Wachau Grüne 01 for 36, and then a 17 Johannes Hof Rheinisch Pinot Noir for 26. Both of those have bids on them. I think an Austrian Pinot Noir might be pretty interesting. We have a bunch of English wines coming into auction. Well, a bunch. We have 4. They're all Gusborn Blanc de Blancs, or
good stuff,
or Ridgeview Blue.
These are tasty wines. They're definitely a lot of fun to try. Let's see, I'm trying to think. It's interesting too, because there's 16 and 15 Blanc de Blanc, and then the 16 Reserve is just $5 more than the 16 Blanc de Blanc. So I think for the money, I'd go for the Reserve. But
yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think, the last vintage I had, it wasn't 16, it was earlier than that. And then, are these new? Are the Ridgeview wines new this week? Because I want to say
there's one that's new. There's one.
Well, I want to say that Ridgeview is the vineyard that Steven Spurrier owned, and I think it's been sold. But anyway, I could be wrong, but I thought that's what it was. I can't remember for sure. But anyway.
Also, at that winery, there's neither a ridge nor a view. Is what I heard. I don't know. When I go up to the mountains, there's this place on the way that's Lakeview Estates, and there's neither a lake nor a view nor estates.
I'm wrong. Excuse me. I'm wrong. It's Bride Valley. That's Steven Spurrier's wine. It's not.
It's funny because every time one of these comes up, I'm like, I wonder if it's Steven Spurrier's one, which I think in one of the Psalm movies, they interview him and he was saying he drinks 1 bottle of wine every single day. And that makes me feel better about my wine.
Well, he did pass away not too long ago, but.
He did? When did he pass away?
He lived a long time.
Recently,
within the last couple of years. So he lived a long, very fruitful life. So go for it.
Pun intended. Let's head over to Australia. Just going to mention a few things. We have a number of things coming from Australia. A couple of 100-acre bottles, some Penfolds wine, including a Penfolds Grandfather Pawnee Tort.
Wait. Say that again. Oh, you mean the 100-acre wine from Australia? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh 06, 100-acre Ancient Ways Shiraz for 260.
Right.
A 10, 100-acre Ancient Ways Vineyard Some Block Deep Time for 510. A few things of Penfolds, 02 Torbeck Run Rig for 190. We've got a couple bottles of Molly Duker. I actually like Molly Duker. There's some stuff there that I enjoy. I know you're laughing at me. Don't hate me. Hate the game, not the players. Okay.
No, this is one of the few places I think that made like a reserve label from like 3-year-old vines or something. I thought it was quite a bold move on their part, but
I just feel like I always thought you would like Molly Duker better because you like labels that are like super cartoony or comic bookish. That's kind of Paul's thing. You put comic books or cartoons on your label and he's like all into your wine. It really doesn't matter.
I did not know that. I didn't know that's what it took.
Yeah, no, that's you. That's your thing. That's what you do. We got a bunch of two hands. Again, Paul hates two hands. I actually like some of the wine that comes out of two hands.
I don't hate it. I never said I hated it.
You hate anything.
I wonder how well those O2s are drinking now, 21 years down the road. But
I'll tell you, I have a case of the '04 Dulles Garden Shiraz, and it even up until I drank my last bottle, it was actually like kicking. It was doing quite well. Yeah. We've got a bunch of Glaetzer, Matolo, and Barossa Valley Estate stuff. What did I miss? Anything?
Yeah, the Henschke at Cup.
Okay, no, I didn't miss the Henschke, Paul. I didn't miss the Henschke.
You did miss it.
No, I did not. I saw the Henschke.
Are you betting on it?
Yeah. Not yet, but I saw the Henschke and I was like, $41 for a Henschke.
Yeah, no, it's got a bid, so you're too late. But
I know.
Anyway, that caught my eye at 13 Euphonium. It's probably delicious. But that was the only Aussie one I flagged this week.
I mean, I guess there's also some Xanadu, Cabernet Sauvignon, and I might as well mention it. There's some Sauvignon from Silkman Blackberry, in case you're interested in Sauvignon. I am going to skip a couple of regions.
Silkman Blackberry. Okay, yeah. I was like, what did you say? I didn't know what you said, so I was confused. But
there's some interesting stuff coming in from South Africa. Actually, a bunch of stuff from Sadie family.
Yeah, no, that there's some serious wine from South Africa.
Very serious wines. I mean, the Sadie family stuff.
I want to try those wines because I've never tasted them. I mean, they're crazy expensive, but they look pretty good.
Yeah, 15 Columella for 95, the 18 for 82, the 18 Palladius for 76. And then we've got the one that I thought was really interesting was this 2015 Pangea. And if you want to, I'm going to be in Napa next week. If you want to buy that for us to drink, I would be okay with that.
Yeah, actually, I know the consignor of this wine, so you might have another one for you if you're curious. But it's a Michel Rolland project.
Okay.
And it's very, very expensive. I actually thought this stuff was from Napa. I didn't even know it was from South Africa.
No, it's not that. It is.
Well, it's from everywhere, right? It's got Cab from Napa in it, Merlot from Bordeaux, Malbec from Argentina, Petit Verdot from Spain, and Cabernet Franc from South Africa. So
when you were a kid,
quite a blend.
When you were a kid and you went to like a pizza joint or like a fast food place and they had to like serve your own soda machines, did you ever make a suicide where you just a little bit of that's what this is.
Exactly.
They just took a little bit of wine from everything and mixed it together, and it's a suicide.
Yeah, it's blended by Michel Rolland, and it's probably what it takes.
By the way, little known fact, little non sequitur here: McDonald's is removing their self-serve soda machines from all of their restaurants, so you can't do suicides anymore. At McDonald's.
I thought you were going to make like some kind of a McDonald's joke in there or something, but. Okay. No, but because interestingly, this wine, I think, is actually bottled. Yeah, it is. It's blended and bottled by Pangea in St. Helena. So it's actually based in Napa, which is kind of interesting. And it says American on the back label, which is also interesting because it's not really American.
It's not really American.
From everywhere. We gotta ask. I gotta ask Insider if he's had it because that's just a very wild wine. I had no idea, what this was about, but.
Okay, there is like a joke in there about McDonald's. I did have a joke about McDonald's like last week or the week before when we had a bottle of McDowell's wine in auction. If you've ever seen Coming to America, that's the whole joke in Coming to America is that they have McDowell's, which is a ripoff of McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I was like, this is the same thing, but with wine.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah, a couple of bottles of Inskillen from 98 coming in from Canada, which I thought was pretty cool to have some, 25-year-old Inskillen ice wine. So if you know anyone who's turning 25, you can grab a bottle of 25-year-old Inskillen for $31. Actually, somebody's already bid on that one. And then the other thing that I thought was pretty cool was we've got 3 bottles of Moussard coming in, including a 2012 Moussard Blanc for 51, which already has a bid, and then a bottle of 98 Moussard and 2000 Moussard.
Yeah, I was reading about the white wine actually last week, and apparently it really does age like for a long time.
All the Moussards do.
Well, the reds do, I know that, but the whites I didn't really know much about, and I've had some of the second label white wines from, I don't know, that are like 10 years old, and they were still drinking really well. So yeah, apparently the sort of flagship white label does last, a good 20, 30 years, which is really, really cool actually. And so
even this
those both have bids already, the 2010.
Yeah, I was going to say this 11. I mean, it's 11 years old. Sorry, the 2012. It's 11 years old. The color looks great.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal.
It looks phenomenal. And then we've got a few bottles of Dog Point Vineyard Pinot Noir coming to auction. And that wraps up the rest of the world. There's a lot of rest of the world stuff to go over today. With WineBid's finally hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.